Hiya, welcome back to my channel if you've been before. Hello if you haven't. I've just been challenged in quite an aggressive manner by Steve Hamilton on Facebook to do a rig for More Than a Feeling by Boston. I'll come to that challenge in a minute. I think in looking into this rig, what I've remembered is just how freaking loud everybody played in the 70s. And the Boston track, even in the studio, is no different from that. I watched a Black Sabbath video a little while ago, live in the 70s, and it was fantastic. Before every song, Tony Iommi and Geezer Butler both rolled their volume knobs back up to where they were to play, aka 10. And just this... Watch this.
Once again, Black Sabbath.
You see what I mean? Completely out of control guitars, which they have to turn off between songs, or poor Ozzy can't do his genteel chatting to the audience. So that's what we were dealing with in the 70s. And this track, More Than a Feeling, that's how it was recorded. He was playing that loud. Now, I've read that he used a power soak, blah, blah, blah. But the sustain, everything says to me he was playing loud. He might have been attenuating it slightly to fiddle with the signal or to capture whatever, but he was playing loud. Now, I've been very lucky. I've managed to find the stems for this track, so we can listen to isolated guitar. I'll put a link in the comments where you can get them too, so you can mix your own 12-inch version of More Than a Feeling. But this is how it kicks off. Now, I'm not bothering with the other instruments because we're only talking about the guitar. So that was the intro lead guitar riff. It's actually 3 guitars. So we'll never make a rig that does all 3 guitars. We'll just have to make the sound that he's making on one of them. So this is the main guitar on the intro. So isolated, it's not such a huge sound, is it? And it's the same sound he uses for all 3 guitars. Look, here's the second part. Maybe not quite the same sound, he's over-egging something in there, but it's in the ballpark of the sound of the first one. And here's the third part. I would bet he played all of those with the same sound, and the only differences are finger, pinched harmonics, little bit of different pressure. They sound the same to me anyway. But my favourite part of each one of those takes is that you can hear the amp is really loud, and he's having to fade it up into the mix and then get it out the way again afterwards, because he's just so much noise going on. I don't understand these days why people want everything clean and pristine and without noise. That noise is the sound of rock and roll. It's on all old records. You just get used to it and you don't hear it when the other stuff's going on. So forget your noise gate. Live with what a plexi used to sound like, and that's the sound of a plexi. So let's build the rig. Here we go. Now then, I looked into what equipment they claim Tom Schultz needs. I found some very detailed forum explanations and very informative videos. They all go a little bit over the top. I don't think there's as much going on as people would like to think. This isn't black magic. This is a guitar. Now, he used a plexi, so I'm using a plexi. There it is. And he used a 4x12. I'm using a 4x12. There it is. I'm lucky enough in real life to have a plexi, so I know what they sound like. I've played through one for years. Mine was built in 1967. It's pre-serial number. It's old, and it sounds like God, frankly. And the Headrush does a very good job of emulating it. Now, at the moment, I've just got just a bog standard, a little bit thinner than I would normally have. I use an IR normally, but this cab is fine for the purposes of this rig. So where did I start? I started with a plexi set like this and set like that. Nothing special. The cab, I used the 57 mic because it's quite a thin sound, and that's quite a thin microphone. I don't mean physically, but it's a harsh sounding microphone. A little bit of speaker breakup because he was playing loud, as we've ascertained. So that's the bass sound. Nothing going on. I think that he was probably using a compressor, and it was probably an MXR Dynacomp or whatever they call the little MXR script compressor. I don't know. I can't remember. I've never had one. I think he might have been using one just to give a bit more sustain. So without and with. So I'm driving the amp a little bit with it as well as using it for sustain. But I think the core of the sound that he is using is a cocked wah-wah. And what do I mean by a cocked wah-wah? I mean it's a wah-wah left in one position. So I haven't even assigned this to the pedal because it doesn't need to be assigned to the pedal. It's just, you can hear that pinched sound starting to appear. That's the core of this sound. Now, that sound needed bringing out. And, okay, I read a few more forum posts and they all said that he used two graphic EQs, a 6-band and a 10-band. We don't have a 10-band. We'll get to that in a minute. He used a 6-band EQ and it was mainly the 800K range that he was using. So, there we go. We're already getting there. Still not as aggressive as his. So, a little bit of a white boost into a Marshall. And we're sort of, you know, we're approaching the ballpark. We're not in the ballpark. But here's the trick. As far as I can tell, Tom Schultz was reamping a Marshall through another amp. And he had a 10-band graphic in between them that he used to pull out the sound. Which is what this is doing. I think you have to admit, we're now starting to approach the horrible sound that's on the record. But let's double it. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'd probably use it live, but not on this recording. It needs a bit of taming though, because it's quite an aggressive sound. So I put a compressor after the sound as well. Now what that does is it takes the peaks out a little bit, and it makes everything a bit more uniform. So it just helps keep things under control. Now that's the core of the sound. And then what I discovered was, if you turn the wah-wah off, this is a great rhythm sound, isn't it? I love that. So I made a couple of scenes. I made one for the riff. And I made one for the intro part. You'll notice I haven't bothered to learn to play the song. I never bothered to learn to play the song. I'll never play it. Now he's playing a harmony. We've got a harmonizer, so I used it. Without. With. It's not very good. I've left it in the rig in case you want to play with it. But he's doing all the different overdubs manually. So let's go and see how close to the actual sound we've got. Once again, this is the original. And this is my first stab. Not too bad. Let's try layering them up. Here's the first two lead guitars from the original track. Okay, and now my attempt. Now bear in mind, I'm not playing to a click track or a drummer, so these will be out of time. I think we're getting there. Let's hear three toms. And now three head rushes. There you go, Steve. That's as close as I'm going to get in half an hour, but we're in the ballpark. I keep saying that, don't I? I've never played ball in my life. Anyway, it's quite close. If I was recording a version of this song, that's the rig I'd use. I'd probably tame it slightly. His might be a bit smoother than mine, but it's basically there. One thing to note, because of the parametric EQ between the amp and the cab, it's a loud rig. So if you're going to use this rig, use your output block to turn the overall rig volume down a bit to match your other rigs, because this one will be loud. I think that's all I can think of to say about it. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again one day. Bye now.